to the 910 Opinion. And here's your host, Willie D.
What is up, everybody? This is the 910 Opinion Podcast, and I am your host, Willie D. I hope everybody is doing well out there. I am ecstatic right now because my listening audience, you know that I have an absolute love for this band, and I am one of their biggest fans. And I actually have the founder on the podcast, he and his wife. If you know this song, you've seen me, lip sing it or whatever. But if you know this song, this is who I'm having in.
That's how much I feel for you, baby. How much I need, but I need your touch.
And so with that sound, you understand that I have the founder of Ambrosia, Joe Puerta.
Very good.
Yeah, did I get it right?
Better than most, I gotta say that. Really good.
And his wife, Shannon, have allowed me to speak to them. And I am such a huge fan. How are y'all doing?
We're doing great.
Doing okay.
We're enjoying our little bit of a break between being on the road, traveling one thing or the other. So it's nice to be home.
Where did you play last?
Well, last time we were actually in Ecuador.
Ooh.
Ecuador, yes.
And how was that?
Got out just in time. A week after we left, they had a little bit of a tumultuous prison break, and they were
I saw it
took over a TV station. And
Yeah.
we got out just in time.
Oh yeah.
But we had fun
It's a
while we were
great show.
there.
Oh, yeah.
Luckily, they didn't target us. That's
Well, I can't thank you guys enough for joining. So I have some questions. First, Joe, with you. All right. So we want to start at you have so much experience in the music industry. I don't know what question to ask you first, but this is the first thing I can think of to ask you. How did Ambrosia come together? How did it start?
Well, it goes back to when I was pretty young, like in high school. There was a music store that I used to go to that had a little bulletin board, where you'd put up a little sign saying, we're looking for a drummer or looking for a guitar player, whatever. And I put up a sign looking for a guitar player. And I got a call from this guy, David Pack, and I had my little band out of my high school. He went to another high school, but we kind of linked up at this music store. So he called me and we talked for a long time, and I give him quite a spiel. I'm saying, I'm probably the greatest singer out there in the world. And my band does the best version of Light My Fire or This Side of the Doors. And so we kind of did that. And so he comes to hear my band play, and he walks in the room, and we have a little rehearsal spot. And what do we break into Light My Fire? My gosh, we did a great version of Light My Fire. So he joined the band. And so we started playing in high school together. And, he would join another band for a while. I'd start another band, but we didn't stay together the whole time. But after I graduated from high school, another guy from my high school was he was much more of a long-haired hippie. I was still short hair. Upon graduation from high school was the first time I just started to let it grow. And you saw the first album cover. I hadn't cut it for several years, probably, because I used to be a track runner. I ran track, so I didn't, and those days you couldn't have long hair and all that in high school. So anyway, this hippie guitar player friend of mine from the high school that I went to invited me to join this original band. I joined that band, and I was playing guitar. And after a while, the bass player, who happened to be like this electronic genius, turned to me and said, "Joe, you're going to be the bass player. I'm going to start a sound company." And buy me a couple of speakers to trade for this bass. It was a 1963 Fender Jazz bass, which I've used for years. I still have it in the living room here and play it all the time. So I became a bass player at 18. I started playing bass. And I asked Dave to join this band after a while because we were looking for another guitar player after I'd switched. And so that band evolved into Ambrosia. By one, we changed the members or got rid of them, and we brought in Chris North, who also went to my high school for 1 year, and he was a keyboard player.
Tell Willie where you found him. The coffin.
Oh, well, that's not where I found him. Dave didn't know him at all. I had met him I knew him through my high school, but Dave had never met him. So I said, we got to check this guy out. This guy is incredible. And we went to this rehearsal hall that his band had, and it was like an old shed or something like that they had turned into a rehearsal space. And as you walk in the door, there was a coffin that has speakers inside of it, where Chris used to go inside this coffin with the speakers on and just fly to the moon or whatever you used to do.
Women all around him.
But we walk into this room, and at the back of the room, we're all like 18 years old, and Chris is there. He's playing this organ. He's got a bottle of wine on top of the organ. He's smoking a cigarette, and there's a girl massaging his shoulders as he plays. I go, we got to get this guy in the band, man. He's got it all going on, besides the coffin, So then we brought Chris into the band, and the drummer we had, who was from that original band I told you about, he got his girlfriend pregnant, and then he had to have get worrying about paying his bills. He had a job. He didn't have time to practice and stuff. So we decided, we need a drummer who's dedicated to what we're trying to go for. So we went to Hollywood and we paid $5 to join this something called the Music Contact Service. And they had a list of drummers. We just started going down a list of drummers. Also, we see this guy's name, Berkeley Drummond. Oh, come on, man. This can't be a real name. So it turns out, there it was. We gave him a call. We met with him. And I think the first time we played together, we had talked and stuff, but the first time we played together was in my parents' living room. We had no practice hall. We had no money. So my parents were actually incredibly giving and gracious that on the weekends, instead of enjoying a quiet weekend after working 5 hours, we would blow the roof off the place in the little living room. So Burley shows up and he has this beautiful purple VW van. And we thought, man, just that alone, this guy's got the gig. So, it was just like the thing, like, okay, here we are, go. And we just started jamming, and we jammed. I don't think we stopped playing for like 45 minutes or an hour. And after that, we said, this is the guy. He was the same age as us. He was going to UCLA. He was trying to get a music degree. And all of us were starting to, for me, I had never had any musical training. I didn't know anything about, music whatsoever. I started in junior college. Was the first time I took classes in music, beginning musicianship and such. So I was starting to learn about chords and, scales and things like that. But most of it was just using my ear.
Right. So
But that was the beginning. That was how the four finally were resolved,
So you were put on the bass, but
yes,
you weren't like, did you just fall? Like you just got good at it kind of quickly, or just kept tapping away at it? I mean,
you start listening to bass players and start figuring out like what does a bass player do, and as little by little. You have to study, some of the masters of it, the different guys, most bass players, if you talk about who are the great examples of different styles, but that cover a lot of the bases, everybody refers usually to James Jamerson, the guy from Motown, right?
Yep.
And then in the pop world, Paul McCartney took bass playing to a new level. Very melodic lines, very creative lines. And then along comes Jaco Pastorius. When Jaco Pastorius came along, that took it to a whole nother level. So if you could mix those guys up in a bottle and shake it and go, how do I come up with my own thing with a little bit of all of those guys' influences? That's kind of where I would say I sort of come from, getting a glint of all those guys. And along the way, there's other incredible guys, Yes, with such an amazing sound he had and all that, different styles and stuff that, just there's so many incredible bass players out there, but that's kind of my story.
Yeah, but a lot of them don't sing and play like you. But
thank you.
Yeah. So is it now out? I got this off of Wikipedia, so this could be true, but I'll let you sure. Let me know if this is true or not. The name of the band started off as I don't even know how to pronounce this.
Ambergris Might.
What does that mean?
Well, I didn't even know what it meant. I was reading. What is it? Is it 1001 Arabian Nights? The Arabian Nights. We had a collection of old books. My dad had bought this, all the great classics of things, and we were supposed to read them, I guess. I never really read them, but we had them in the house. And I was just looking for a name, and I'm looking through the 1001 Nights, and suddenly this name, and the Ambergris Might. I go, I don't know what that is, but that's going to be our name. We're going to be Ambergris Might. And everybody said, okay. It sounded cool. So we started playing around as Ambergris Might. And then we used to go to the record stores to check out the latest this and that. And we're going through this and that. We see this band called Ambergris. And we go, oh, man, there's a band already called Ambergris. So we got to change our name. We got to find a new name. So since we already had the name Ambergris and people started to follow us, I said, maybe something similar. So I just went to the dictionary, and I was going through the dictionary, and I think I was on the phone with Dave. I go, look at that. Ambrosia. That's kind of cool. It was the nectar of the gods, and it kept them immortal and gave them strength. I said, perfect, and it kind of has a sound. I think Ambrosia, there used to be a DJ in Los Angeles who just liked to say Ambrosia. And then if we do these shows where we partner up with different artists, and we're like the house band, and we bring on some of our artistic friends, our great different people we played over the years, but Al Stewart is English. He always introduces Ambrosia.
Yeah.
Ambrosia. We're like the ja more. Ambrosia.
So you guys started off as, I guess, well, when you were good as a group, you were doing progressive rock.
Yeah, we started. It was an evolution. When I first joined that first original band out of high school, where I had switched from guitar to the bass, we were more influenced by what was going on in California then, which was like Crosby, Stills, and Nash. Mm-hmm. This country slash folky thing with rock. That was kind of the big thing then. I started writing kind of in that style. And then one day, Chris, his brother especially, was really into English prog rock. And we were driving in Hollywood looking for something to do, and we saw a sign on the billboard for the Whiskey A Go-Go. It said, appearing tonight, King Crimson. And we said, who's King Crimson? And Chris said, I think they're English band. They're supposed to be pretty good. So we bought tickets to go see this band. And after the first song, we were like, oh my God, what was that? It was this, if you're familiar with their first album, the very first song is, I'm trying to think of the title of it. This escaped me now, but it's the one that goes. So they had all this crazy timing and all the light show was going with it. And they had a mellotron and sax, and it was just like, what the heck? We had never seen anything like this. And we just felt like, God, we're like light years behind where this band is taking music. So we decided we're going to start thinking differently about music. And also about the same time, the same guy who had said he was going to start a sound company had become one of the top designers actually in rock and roll sound systems. And they were going to audition to reinforce the sound at the Hollywood Bowl. And so he called me up. He goes, "Hey, Joe, you guys want to play the Hollywood Bowl?" And we were like playing bars and stuff. So, "Are you kidding me?" "Yeah. What's the deal?" I said, "Well, there's not going to be anybody there, but we're just going to set up a PA.
I love it.
And you guys are going to play, and then they're going to run around with dB meters and listen to the quality of the sound and see how loud it is and stuff like that." But so we just set up on the Sunday morning where no one was there on the stage of the Hollywood Bowl. And we were like, this is incredible, to a crowd of 3 people or something like that. But we played, and after we were done, an English gentleman who is very, debonair, and he comes up to us and "I'm Gordon Perry. I'm the chief recording engineer for London Decca Records. And I started listening rather than just to the sound system, to your songs." He said, "Are you guys all classically trained or anything like that?" Because we were starting to do, sophisticated arrangement, not really. As Chris had classical chops as a kid, and Burley and all of us were starting to get steady, but not really classically trained musicians. So he became kind of a champion of ours. He actually tried to get us a deal, this guy Gordon Perry, with his label, which was London Decca. And it never happened. And they were also famously known for also passing on the Beatles. So we were a good company. But through him, he gave us, we had no money, but he said, "If you want to come to the Hollywood Bowl anytime, it's on me. I'll get you some free tickets." And so we started seeing a lot of classical music, and that became part of our thinking too, orchestras and things like that. So on the second album, we have a song called "Cowboy Star," which has actually this big orchestral piece.
Can I I picked that song out because I was listening to it and I was like, "What?"
Wow, that's
Can I play a clip from it? I have it right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So this is a clip from what he was just talking about, where it sounds like there's some orchestral pieces to it, and there's the rock, and then it shifts. It sounds like a movie score almost.
Yeah.
So here's a clip from Cowboy Star. I hope I pushed the right button. I didn't label it.
I'll be riding away like a cowboy star.
And it just goes into something else.
Yeah. I love that song.
Who's playing this?
It's actually the London Symphony Orchestra. We did it at Abbey Road. It was recorded with a real orchestra.
There it is.
This is arranged by a guy named Andrew Powell, who we wrote the music for it, and then Andrew Powell orchestrated it for a full orchestra. But it was our music
It's
ideas.
trippy, isn't it?
Yeah, because I started listening. I was like,
Those were the days when
I love it. That's
the
a great
world,
pick.
we were able to just go anywhere we wanted. Our record company at the time was very liberal with what we could do. They didn't come in the studio and say, "Hey, we need this or that." They just let us rip, and we took advantage of that. And so we wanted to do something that was different from what anybody else had ever done, or try to be, different in our own way, to make a statement that we could do stuff that other bands really didn't do or couldn't do.
Did y'all ever try to perform this live somehow, or try to reproduce it?
We never did actually. We couldn't do the orchestral.
Right.
Believe it or not, though, I just got a call. Our agent is working on getting us some orchestral shows where he just thought we would do, our songs, like How Much I Feel has real strings in it.
Right.
And other songs of ours have actual real string sections, not orchestras necessarily, but violins and cellos and things. So he's working on us doing shows with an actual like regional orchestras.
And maybe.
And I said, we have an actual orchestral leader. He goes, really? He didn't know about that. He came along late. He came along more later when we had our hits and stuff like that. So he didn't really know about some of our earlier stuff. So he's working on that right now. And I said, it'd be great to have an orchestra do that piece. There's other pieces that we have that are, much
wild.
Really the orchestral world. Yeah.
So let's fast forward a little bit, and then because the music that that I just played, How Much I Feel, and Biggest Part of Me. That's what I know you guys from. When did that shift happen?
I think it happened between the first two albums, as you said. We were more. I call it the prog rock, art rock period, because Cowboy Star, it's not really prog rock. It's art rock.
Yeah. Okay.
It starts off with a poem. It's kind of like, the Moody Blues did some of that things where they would do, they would narrate for a while, then they'd break into it. So we were somewhat influenced, of course, by that as well. But in between, our record company that we were with, our manager said, we've got to get on a different label. This label is not big enough for where we want to go. So we actually had to go on, believe it or not, we had to go on strike. It was a very stressful period for us because we're just listening to our manager going, okay, the way we do it, you guys got to be complete jerks to the president of the company who really just be like snots. So they let go of you guys, and then we can sign with another label. All right,
that's
not really sure. But that's what we had. It took like a year out of our lives. We had to do nothing but try to get off of the label. In between that period, that song "How Much I Feel" was written. Dave Pack wrote that song, and he brought it to the band, and we all said, "Oh, this is a change. This is real a change, but this is a hit." Yeah. We all said, "This is a hit." We had a successful single with our first album called "Holding On to Yesterday," which was more of a bluesy-ish kind of. Wasn't prog rock, but it was a sophisticated pop tune with harmonies, and it had violin. It was it was ambrosiaized. It wasn't like a normal single. It had its own little identity.
It's great.
But How Much I Feel, when that came out, it was like, okay, now this is a totally different world for us on one level. It wasn't unfamiliar to us as far as our chops, because in that year that we were off and we couldn't play anywhere or do anything, we were the house band at a lesbian bar.
Yeah.
and we were playing
Night Up.
We were playing Now That We Rest Your Soul Warm and Tender, I Can't Wait Till We Reach. The bass playing on that, it was hang on in there, baby. It was like, hey, we're doing all this R&B. So, a matter of fact, I should send you, somebody recorded us at that
oh my gosh
lesbian bar, and the recording of it's pretty darn good. Yeah. And it's we weren't actually we were the backing band to a female singer, right? Santos was her name, and but we used to do that song and stuff like that, but we had fun. It was a lot of fun, but we were doing a lot of R&B. So here we come along with a guy, probably been influenced by. He writes the song, and it was like, okay. And next thing you know, boom! It was like the number one record, and we changed labels to Warner Brothers, and it was like the number one record coming off that first album for Warner's.
That I will tell you this: that particular song is in like my top 5 all time. I'm saying like all the music I know, that song is in my top 5 all time. So you're competing with Earth, Wind, and Fire, and Hall and Oates, and that's because it. And Joe, we kind of talked about this a little bit, but I'm gonna the shirt that I was wearing at one time about the bass part? Please, I want to ask you a question because I'm going to play it. I'm going to play that clip, and then I'm going to ask you a question about it.
Uh-oh.
Cool. Yeah.
Joe.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that being that you know you have a strong voice in the band, but how did that come about where you picked that space to just do that? That feel is one of my favorite feels for bass all time, like because it's so pronounced, but it's also subtle.
Yeah.
It says a lot.
It just worked as part of
It's magical though.
the song, and I think each time I played it maybe a little bit differently because I think I did Woomba, I did a slide. I was listening to it. Like, what did I do on that one? But it just it just fit the song. Obviously,
I love that part so much.
Yeah. Matter of fact, we did a for fun, we were trying different things, and we did a remake of it. And I did this whole different fill, and Shannon goes, "You can't change that fill."
I'm with you, Willie. That's my favorite
Listen,
part.
I came up with a really cool line. I thought, no, you can't change it. So, okay,
Ever.
so that's what it is. It'll always be.
Because I'll tell you, if I had ever gone to see you live, and I'll be waiting for that part to come up, I'll be.
I know.
Basing it, I'm like,
If I did, no good.
Walk out.
no, Joe, you got to do it over. Start back over. Do it again. Do it like you did it on the album, Joe.
Right, you're waiting for it.
That would be criminal.
But going back to your bass playing, how is it that you sing and play bass at the same time? Like, you got, like, I guess Burley, he sings and plays the drums too?
Yeah, he does. I mean, he doesn't sing as much. I mean, his lead vocals are fairly just here and there, but he sings harmonies mainly. But as far as playing bass, there's several songs that are very tricky to get your mind to sing a lead vocal that is a different phrase from a certain kind of pattern. Like Burley wrote a song called "Still Not Satisfied." It's kind of a rock blues song, and he's took a lot of ethnomusicology stuff, and he used to said this is an African rhythm. That goes or something like that, So the bass line goes boom boom ba bum 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 ba bum bum ba bum ba bum 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 ba ba ba. It's on da 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 da. It's this weird rhythm, and this vocals da 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 da. Da 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 da. And you got to play the bass line, and it's like, okay, this.
Your brain is doing gymnastics.
Yeah. There's another one that's kind of more of a yacht rocky tune. It's more like a semi dubious thing. It's called "Still Living on My Own," and that one has a boom, and you're going up like 11 frets, and you're singing this lead, and it's this ostinato bass line that you just have to disconnect.
Right.
If you're thinking about it, you can't do it. You just have to practice it enough to where you can just
second nature. Just
I mean, as a drummer, do you sing at all when you're playing drums?
I can't even lip sync and play the drums at the same time. But it's like you said, if it's a straight 4/4, got it. But if it's something where if it's a triplet in there somewhere, oh gosh, I'm just like now. So back when I was in the band, they tried to get me to sing some harmonies on the part, which I can harmonize with some things, but I was like, I'm not singing parts. I will harmonize a note and I will get off of it. That's the extent of how that works for me. I can't do it.
Got it.
So what we're going to have to do, I still got some more questions, but since I went to Zoom, I'm going to edit this part. It says I got 2 minutes left of my free time. We're going to come out and come right back in. Can we do that?
Okay.
Yep.
Sure.
Okay. I'm just going to go ahead and exit out now because it's a good stopping point, and then we're going to get to how you two met, and then we're going to talk about your job as a tour manager because I want to know about that stuff too.
Okay.
So I'm gonna close you out.
We'll be right here.
Start it back over, and then we'll pick right back up. Is that okay?
That's perfect.
Sure.
Yep. Okay. Thanks.
See you in a second.
Okay.
We're good.
Hello, Willie here. So that was part one of my interview and conversation with Joe and Shannon Puerta of Ambrosia. As you can see, that was a great podcast for me. Love that conversation. That was part one, and part two will be coming next week. Unfortunately, it will not have video due to a technical difficulty, but the conversation itself the rest of it, still just as good. So tune in next week for the audio portion of part two. Thank you, and Willie, I'm out.